It sounds derisive again, but this is baby's first game. A little glitch here and there, I can live with that. I'm not making something I'm charging money for here. If I was releasing like my first $10 Steam game, you better believe I'd be scrubbing it clean.
Hello everyone, I'm John Aljets, and today we are going to be talking to my buddy Esh. Now, why are we talking to Esh? Why is that like a big deal? Esh has been on my channel a bunch of times. You guys have seen him. It's not that big of a deal, right? Well, it kind of is, because Esh made a game.
Yeah.
Your first game.
My very first one. Thanks for calling me not a big deal. I'm very happy about that. Yeah, I finally, after much pressure from you, by the way, but also having wanted to do it for a while, I finally made baby's first game. A little 5 to 10 minute narrative thing just to see if I could do it, really. And apparently I could, after a lot of struggling.
And today we're going to be going through that game together, you and I. And we're going to do a little bit of a developer commentary.
You could call it that,
this.
yeah.
We're going to talk about your thought processes on it. We're also going to talk about your experience as a first-time dev making a game. So let's go ahead and let's dive right into it.
As you can see, it's an RPG Maker thing. And the first thing people are probably going to ask is, why RPG Maker? One, when I started realizing that indie games existed, those are some of the first ones I played. Stuff like Witch's House or what the hell is it called? A bunch of RPG Maker horror games, you know? There's one I can't. Mad Father was the one I was thinking of. So it's an engine I know. It's an engine I have some idea of what it's capable of. So I thought that would be a good place to start.
It also helps that you're good friends with somebody who his channel is built upon tutorials for this engine.
But as you can see, right away, you can see that that I'm doing it a little bit differently than what RPG Maker does natively, because RPG Maker is made to mostly resemble like old school 16-bit RPGs. So you would have like a pretty strong dialogue box and a little portrait. And I didn't like that, especially not for like more narrative games. So I had to get some plugins to get this to work so I could draw my own portraits. This is my art you're looking at right now. So even with a slightly different style of shading than I usually do, just to keep it a little more interesting.
And I know that you're using if I'm not mistaken, you're using the pop horror tile set and graphics.
So the thing about RPG Maker games and first games, I could easily have made like a little dungeon, a classic RPG, and used what was built into the program. I think I actually tried to do that a while back, and then I just got bored. But that makes the game look like what it is, you know, like a prepackaged quick baby game. I kind of wanted to look like my game. So I went out and searched for assets, because I'm not a sprite artist. So I used the Pop Slasher Forest set for this. I forget the name of the developer of that set right now, but they're credited, obviously. So I used that, and I used their base characters and actually changed those in Sprite to make my own characters.
As you get into this a little bit, let's talk about the character design, and let's talk about our main guy here. Did you mean for this guy to be you?
No. I just,
because he looks like you.
Well, that's mostly because my style of faces aren't very varied yet. He doesn't have my beard at the very least, but no, he's not supposed to be me. His hair is a little more like straight in the back. I think it's because I have like 2 little points sticking up rather than just one. I don't know. It wasn't really intended. I tried to give him a bigger nose and slightly darker hair than I actually have, but whatever. It didn't work, clearly, since you think it's me.
So this is like a very simple. Basically, it's a walking simulator.
Yes.
Did you say that's a fair assessment?
It is. I mean, I find the term walking simulators for horror games kind of derisive, because you're supposed to explore and you're supposed to explore an area and get scared. And if you put too much gameplay, like too many things you can do all the time, I feel like, okay, where'd the scare go? You know. So I knew I needed like an opening cutscene, and this is where I met my first hurdle in this game, because RPG Maker doesn't really have like a cutscene thing specifically. There's not a button that says make cutscene, especially not an opening one. When you make a base game in RPG Maker, it'll just pop you in the middle of whatever your starting map is with no fanfare whatsoever. I basically made like an invisible little player space on a duplicate of the first map. And then I wrote a script for what would happen. And then it transfers me to this duplicate of the map.
So that is, I am going to throw this out there, probably not the best way to go about that.
I didn't know how else to do it. So
when you're defining an event, you can actually set an event to start upon map load, which would kind of be the way to do it.
Okay, well, there you go. Like I said, I've literally never made a full game before, even if this is just a 5 to 10 minute one. So the thing that's supposed to be like the suspense builder in this one is that you hear a scream from the woods, okay, but you hear it from way too far away. You're going to go deeper and deeper into the woods, and the question becomes, how the hell could you hear that? Like, how did the sound travel that far? So that's why I have a little moment here, because there's like 5 screens of the woods that you're walking through. This is the first thing I did, by the way, was map these. And I very deliberately, by your, first of all, because I knew it already, but also by your suggestion, make sure to not make it linear and all blocky. Because reality and nature is not planned out in blocks, you know? And especially not if you're in the freaking woods. So get random with it is basically my approach to this. I do
appreciate that your mapping here has very much followed the Benderwaffle school of put trees everywhere.
Yes. Well, you're in the woods, right? And even if you're in the woods and there's a well-trodden path, trees don't line up for you. They'll pop up if they want, unless someone chops them the fuck down. And also, I didn't want to risk making a map where you just have to hold up until you get to the end of it. So I very deliberately put in a couple twists and turns and some stuff that's in your way, so you actually have to press a few buttons in this walking simulator, as you call it. Because otherwise, you're just holding forward until the game ends. Nobody wants that.
The thing though, and we've talked about this. The thing about your game, and kind of something that I was curious about, is why did you choose to make this particular story a RPG Maker horror game as opposed to like a visual novel horror game?
It's like I said right at the beginning, RPG Maker is an engine I kind of know, both because you've made videos about it and because I've played a lot of games in it. I don't actually play a lot of visual novels, personally. I do have a visual novel maker, courtesy of you.
Very much seems like something that would be up your alley. Knowing what you enjoy, I feel like you would love them.
They are when I immediately like the art style. Then I'm all over it. But basically, I knew what RPG Maker was. I know approximately what it can do. At least I know what it has potential to do. And also, I just kind of wanted you to actually walk and explore rather than just reading something I wrote. But the reason you're asking this is because this is not my first horror short story. I've made a couple of comics.
True.
So,
Isn't it based off of one of the comics?
No, it's based off an idea I never made into a comic.
Gotcha, that's what it was.
Yeah, but close. So here we have one of the first little weird moments. Because, I knew going in, this couldn't just be walk to the end and then something happens. Stuff has to happen along the way. And this is a particularly unpleasant part. Because, trust me, drawing this was not a nice feeling.
I do remember us talking on Discord when you were doing all these drawings. And this one was one that you were like, I'm not looking forward to that.
Nope. Because first of all, this is a depressing thing to draw and gross and all that. And I had to look up a picture of a dead bird to do it and all that. I wanted this in here because I want there to be a few unpleasant steps on the way. And in a way, depending on your choice, this does sort of foreshadow what comes later. So,
yeah, I do also appreciate, because this gives us our first, I guess, moral choice, you would say, because this game does have 2 endings.
Yes.
And it's all dependent upon like the choices that you make at a few key points. Yeah.
Or rather,
which I guess is gameplay.
You could say that. Now we're back in visual novel territory. I guess you could say that it has 2 endings in the sense that you only get the full ending if you do things a certain way. So we're actually gonna not do this right now. We can do a second playthrough where we run through it to get the full ending, because there's a scene that only happens if you don't bury this bird. So I'm just gonna keep this. So that's sad, but that's nature. Sorry, little guy, big animals gotta eat too. He looks very sassy here. That's actually sassier than I intended, but oh well.
Well, then you talk about how, depending on your choices, there's a scene at the end that only happens if you make a choice. This one is one where you get a scene by not doing something, because you get a moment when you don't bury the baby bird that doesn't happen if you do.
Yes, and that was actually something that came to me while I was working on this. I just wanted there to be a reaction to you leaving this thing here. And I wanted that reaction to sort, by the way, that is a custom sprite. I made that sprite myself. I like to think I did it pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay.
It's pretty big, but that's whatever.
It is a little hard to tell what it is, but I mean, I'm not here to critique the work.
Well, you're also not really supposed to see what it is until you inspect it. So fair. That helps. But yeah, this is the one time. Also, it's just because I wanted. So the game is called No Good Deed, and there is a bit of a theme here that even if you try to be good, bad things can still happen to you. Is basically the main theme here. Not that there was a big theme coming in. When I write short horror stories like this and for comics, I basically have a visual in my mind and I work towards that visual. I don't necessarily have like a big moral to tell.
Well, I will say, and this is one note that I gave you on the game initially, and I don't know if you fixed it for the public release, but
I did.
The screams were pretty quiet.
Yes, because I wanted I didn't want it to like sound like it came from right next to you. I wanted it to sound distant, which, you know, resulted in me turning them way too low, because that's the thing. I play a lot of horror games. I have a Let's Play channel, and I try to always make it clear when I'm commenting on it that I haven't made a game myself. Now I have, so suck it. So whatever notes I give, you should take with a grain of salt, right? But one thing I usually say is you have to remember the person playing it didn't make it. So things that seem obvious to you or things that you know you should look out for or listen for, the player doesn't.
Yes.
So you actually have to be a little more obvious than you think you do. At least that's my experience.
This is why playtesting is such an important part of the process.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I know that you had me playtest this. Did you have anybody else?
No.
Give it a run through?
Because I don't really have anyone else in my life that are into indie games in any way. And most of my friends aren't artists or devs in any way. Oh, I see we have a little bit of a graphics glitch here. Oops. Didn't even notice that till now. Whatever. I don't really have anyone who does creative stuff like this in my life, in real life. So it's not that their input would have been useless. Of course it wouldn't. It would have been invaluable, like all input is. But I also kind of wanted to surprise them with the thing I made, so I didn't want to show anyone until it was done.
Which I get, and I've definitely done that. I will say that it's usually a good idea, I would say, to have.
Yeah,
we have our moment.
Here's the moment that only happens if you don't bury the bird, because a fox pops up who has decided to eat it. I'm not great at background, so this doesn't look fantastic, but I do like this fox. And he like stares you down and runs away.
I don't see a problem with the background at all.
One
thing about Ash that will always bother me is that he is way too hard on his own work.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a whole thing that only happens.
Be hard on. Don't be hard on yourself. Let me be the critical one of your work.
Sure. But yeah, that only happens if you don't do the bird. And that little statement he made when he didn't bury the bird, big animals need to eat too. There's a point to that. You'll see in a moment.
Yeah.
But
anyways, back to my point. I feel like it is important, and something that I hope that if there's newbie game developers watching this right now, first of all, thank you for watching. But also on top of that, playtesting is super important, and you should have multiple people play.
Yes.
Just because the more people play your thing, the more the problems that certain people run into are going to either seem bigger or smaller.
Yes.
What I mean by that is if you have one person play a game and they run into a problem or they run into something that is too difficult for them to beat or something like that, you're going to look at that and go, okay, I might have made this too hard. But if you then have like 20 more people play that, but nobody else struggles with it, then maybe your original tuning was fine. You know what I mean?
I mean,
a bigger sample size with playtesting makes things easier.
People are always going to think differently. You know, you're always going to run into someone who approaches a problem differently than you expect. But if you can find what the majority reaction will be, then you're fine. And eventually, this is going to sound mean, but eventually the guy who didn't get it is going to get it if they keep playing.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Well, unless you really messed up.
And I know that I did this for you when I was playtesting this game. not sure how much it helped considering what type of game this is, but oftentimes I have my playtesters record their playtests. They don't have to do commentary or anything like that if they don't want to, but I just they send me a video of them playing it.
Yeah.
Just so that I can watch their playthrough and see the sticking points, see the parts where they're struggling, and not have to rely on their own memory. Because often sometimes people will see will have a moment where they run into a difficulty that you didn't anticipate, but it was such a small difficulty that they don't register that it was a problem, but you as a developer, that's something you need to pay attention to.
It is something I try to say when I try to be as productive with my criticism when I play games as possible. So I'll often say, this might just be me, but whenever I point out a problem. Or I'll try to say, I might just be an idiot right now, but I don't understand this. It happens a lot with puzzles, by the way, the whole get some playtesters. There's no such thing as common knowledge. Whatever you think is common knowledge might not be. Not everyone knows how to play a piano. Not everybody knows how to play chess. If you're going to do those puzzles, make the rules available. You know?
Yeah.
Just the most glaring example that I can think of right now. Anyway, moving on. So here's a little tent we find, because I realized halfway through this, well, as I was designing it mostly, like I said, I mapped first before I really started worrying about dialogue or anything. If we're going to investigate someone who's calling for help, I want them to still be a character. I don't want them to just be a blank slate. So I wanted there to be at least this little tent we can explore here and learn a little bit about this person that because we haven't seen this person yet. We haven't seen head nor tails of them. But here's our first little clue as to what kind of person we're looking for. New sleeping bag, no dirt, no tears. Hiking clothes, bug spray, some protein bars, still wrapped. And this is just a silly one. This is a stupid thing. I like eat someone's food. I just wanted there to be 3 options. I could have thought of something better, but this is just there to be a little moment of levity, because if you choose to eat it, obviously you're an asshole because you ate someone else's food. And our guy complains that it's banana flavor, which happens to be my personal favorite. So no, he's not me. Piss off with that.
That's your argument for the main character not being you, is he hates banana flavor and I love it.
I'm being facetious right now, but I put that in as a little ha-ha for myself.
I can't be the only one who sees this, right? Like, those of you who are watching this, look at Esh, look at the character. That's the same person.
You're 100% correct. I don't know.
You're even both wearing blue shirts.
Well, okay, that's an accident today. Normally I wear black. To be fair. He does also wear a hoodie. Like, I'm just not a very creative man, apparently. We'll step back out. And there's the scream again. You probably can't hear it because I turned everything way down. There it is again. I actually started out having the text in the top every time, you hear a help me, because that's the direction you're going. That's where I wanted the help me to come from. But every time I did this, my homemade portrait would like jump up there for a frame. And I just could not fix it no matter what the fuck I did. I was going insane. So by the end, I was just like, screw it. I can't fix this. Whatever it is, it's some finicky little coding thing. I tried to like wait 15 frames between dialogue boxes to give it some time. Nothing happened. No matter what I did, it screwed up. So I was just like, screw it. Black screen, middle of the screen. It'll work.
That is something, especially when you're using some of these like more limited engines like RPG Maker.
Yeah.
Where like sometimes, the best laid plans don't always work out. You know what I mean?
Because I really like the idea of the text coming from the direction you're going, so it really feels like you're chasing something. But whatever. Yeah. So now the mystery is gonna reach a peak here, because apparently the scream is coming from a cave. And now he's asking the question on your mind, like, how the hell did I hear a scream coming from almost a mile into the woods from a cave? That makes no sense.
Yeah.
So he's just like, okay, I can't ignore this.
I will say that when it comes to your maps, I think this might be the map that I like the most, just from an aesthetic standpoint. Like, this feels like a location. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, again, I try to follow the randomized rule. Like, don't just kind of brush and see where it takes you. instead of planning out, okay, put a tree here, put this clump of trees here. No, just kind of make the important points and then just kind of create shit and, fix it up, obviously. But yeah, I really like this screen too. I think it works very well. By the way, I haven't been doing this. You actually can't go back at any point in the game. Every time you try, he'll be like, no, I got to figure out what that was. Because I wanted that to be a sort of hypnotic thing to this. Like, he can't ignore it even if he tries.
Well, you know what they say. Curiosity killed the cat.
Well, not a cat this time, but you get the point. All right.
Now, here's something that I wanted to ask. Why did you go about the shallow water this way? Why did you not make just all of the water walkable?
I don't know. I felt like adding a river. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, like the river is a cool design detail, but like, why only have a specific patch that is walkable, as opposed to just making all? Because a lot of times rivers and streams like this, you can cross them pretty much anywhere.
Well, first of all, this guy doesn't want to get his crotch wet, so he'll cross where it's shallow.
Gotcha.
Second of all,
you got to have a dry crotch. I feel it.
Exactly. Having a wet crotch, that shit sucks. But also, remember the thing I just said about being like a hypnotic thing to it? I want the path to feel predetermined, like something is luring him here. Because as you'll see in a minute, that's exactly what's happening.
I didn't even think about that.
That's also why the opening kind of looks like a mouth, Weird cave in the woods, nothing creepy about this at all. Phone out, flashlight on. Okay. Boom! Plug in, baby.
I got a question here.
Yeah.
The lighting effects on the bust, is that part of the plugin, or is that something that you did in
That's something I did that's something I did in the drawing. Clip Studio Paint.
Because it blends so perfectly with the environment that when I saw it, I was like, I feel like that's probably something that he did in app, but it is just so seamless that it could have also been a plugin thing.
It is not a plugin. I did that while I was drawing. So the way making these portraits work is you make your portraits and you make your little portrait sheet. That is what you would normally use. And this plugin links them together depending on the file name. So if you use this portrait, it'll show you this picture on top of the dialog boxes. So I actually made much like I did with everything else. I drew the guy with his phone out. And I added a lighting effect on all of them. I actually had to shrink it down because it got cut off in the top, which that shit sucked. And I made some lighting effects where I dropped colors from this screen. And then, I tweaked the screen a little bit because that way I could make sure it fit a little better. But yeah, I'm really happy with the results. Originally, I did have more of a flashlight cone shape here, but it just didn't really work. Because the things you're about to see became visible that way, in a way that didn't fit, Like they became too clear.
Gotcha.
So I figured, fuck it, we'll do it this way. Oh, hold on, what do we have here? A phone. And no, you idiot, you can't ignore it. Go over there.
I did try that once.
See, that's exactly why I did these things. No, you're not going to walk past the phone, idiot.
See, but I tried to ignore it on a second playthrough because I was like, all right, I know what the deal with the phone is. I don't need to see the cockroach again.
Well, the cockroach isn't the important part.
I know, but still.
So we find this phone and we see what seems like a perfectly normal person's phone, right? A selfie as their home screen. So now we have a moment of reflection. She looks so normal, like this could be some girl living on my street. He's been a judgmental prick up until this point, And now it's just like, oh, this is a person. This is an actual person. I do want
to... Something that jumped out to me about her design when I did my most recent playthrough, and I know that this is not intentional, but I did just want to bring it up. Did you mean for her and the main character to share so much of the same color palette?
No.
Because obviously they're both blondes, but also on top of that, the colored splashes in her hair match his helmet.
That was not on purpose. I just wanted her to have blue streaks because I wanted her to have a little bit. And this is me going to sound judgmental. I wanted her to have some of those stereotypical, not like other girls traits.
Yeah.
You know, just a little bit to justify why she thinks going out in the woods alone is a good idea.
When I realized that they had like roughly the same color palette, I was sitting there and I was thinking to myself, you know, by the rules of cartoons, in any other context, if I saw these two characters next to each other, my assumption would be brother and sister.
Yeah, probably. But you know, that might have been accidental, but I actually think it works that they're very similar because they end up sharing a fate. Let's just put it that way. And the cockroach was just to make the picture slightly less boring. Like, I don't even think there would be a cockroach in a cave like this, but who cares? It's just some random bug.
Would have been fun if you could have made it like skitter off.
I was about to say the exact same thing, but that would have been too much work. So, and then the phone dies. I love that effect. By the way, all of this is I switched to a different picture, but it really works. Yeah. And it's dead, really clinging to its last few seconds of battery life. Better take it with me so I can give it back if I find. When I find her. There's the little bit of determination. Now he's like, okay, this is for real. This is an actual person. I'm going to do my best. And now you're about to see...
glitch?
What happened?
Go up.
I didn't notice. What's up?
Go up.
Oh, this little bit of shadow here?
Yeah, you've got a wall but no roof, basically.
Oops. Yeah, I fucked that up, apparently. Wow. How did I not notice that? I did so much debugging. I sat for literally 10 hours and scraped every single screen.
That's why playtests are important, because like you'll think that you're seeing everything in a scene, but you as a developer have become so used to the way that scenes look that something that stands out to other people will not stand out to you.
To be fair, I did my 10 hours of debugging everything and sent it to you again, and you didn't notice either. You didn't point it out to me. So, just covering my own ass here.
I caught it on my most recent playthrough, but I didn't draw attention to it because by the time I was doing my most recent playthrough, you were very much in the screw it, I just want to get it done mode.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's not really worth bringing up.
No, and I mean, it sounds derisive again, but this is baby's first game. A little glitch here and there, I can live with that. I'm not making something I'm charging money for here. If I was releasing like my first $10 Steam game, you better believe I'd be scrubbing it clean. Like,
you can find this game for free on itch.io.
Yes, you can. And you're also about to see the most unique aspect of this game. Because now we actually do find our hiker right up here. There she is. That was actually the first sprite I did, I think, was her lying there with a little bit of blood. And here we go.
Proper animatics.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, like, this this cutscene, but more the next cutscene that we're about to see in a moment. You need to do animatic shorts. Like, I want to see those up on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, sure.
It doesn't need to be any more complicated than the animation style of these.
Nope.
You know, it's really simplistic, just keyframing stuff. But I want to see it.
See, this is what I was talking about with the cone-shaped light that I wanted at first.
Yeah.
That would have lit that sprite up. And it would not have been nearly as effective as seeing it in the dark. Because right now, you're just seeing a huge lump with teeth. I could have made the sprite darker, obviously, but I didn't want to fuck with that.
Not to be overly critical, but
no, go ahead.
I will say that seeing that sprite full bright, it's not scary. But as soon as you kind of put it in darkness, it's a little spooky.
That's exactly how it works a lot of the time. You know how they always say that in movies, like, oh, the monster wasn't scary when the lights were on? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even the scariest movie monster you've ever seen is just kind of neat if you see it in like nice studio lighting. It's why you don't see the shark so much in Jaws. It's why the alien is black so it blends in with the dark. It's a rule of thumb.
Well, I mean, not to deride Jaws, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Love Jaws.
But realistically, the reason why you don't see the shark much in that is because Bruce the Mechanical Shark didn't work 90%.
Yeah, it was a piece of shit.
That's the actual reason why you don't see it that much, but it just happened to work out in the film's
Exactly.
favor.
Yes. Well, I'm just saying. But yes, the Bruce the Shark was a piece of mechanical absolute ass. But anyway, here comes the second cutscene. And now he's a little bit scarier.
Okay, again, as I said, this is the one that made me go, all right, I want to see animatics from you, because you sent me both of these cutscenes like just independently before you
there's the neck track. Oof.
That freaking neck snap. Before you put them into the game, just kind of like to review them from like a video standpoint.
Yeah. And
this legitimately gave me a nightmare.
Well, then I did it correctly.
Because this is spooky.
Yeah, this is my favorite part that's coming up right now. Also, that's me doing the breathing, by the way. That's me doing that sound effect.
Oh, I believe it.
I like basically swallowed the mic and put down the pitch. So check her face out now. It is. I'm very happy with how it worked. Check out her face. Because you actually have to pay attention here to notice this.
Yeah.
I love that.
A part of me, and like that's my only the only thing about that animatic is I would have liked to have seen a little bit more like twitching from her.
Yeah.
And I would have preferred the eye move to be like an instant eye move with like a squish sound effect maybe or something, just to like really emphasize it, because and again,
Malibu
I'm speaking
Derby.
from like
big props to Malibu Derby. That really helped. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. I'm speaking from like the standpoint of a video editor at this point, not a game developer, but the fact that like I missed that her eyes moved the first couple of times watching that, something to sell that like a sound effect or something probably would have helped that land just a smidge better.
I can understand that, but I kind of wanted you to have the opportunity to miss it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I want you to be like, wait, hold on, did something change? Like, that's why it waits a couple seconds after her eyes move. I want you to have, because if you're looking straight ahead, you're looking at the monster, you're not looking her in the eyes. That's also why I put it to the side. Normally, that's kind of a composition no-no. You know?
Yeah.
By all accounts, she should have been in the middle because she's like the focal point. But I wanted her to not be the focal point for a second. But what you're saying is correct, too. What I could have done was add a sound effect to make you look in her direction and then realize, oh, shit. Her eyes moved.
Well, with that, if you haven't had a chance, go ahead and check out No Good Deed over on itch.io. There will be a link for that down in the description. You can also check out Ash on all the places. I'll have links to his social media and all that sort of stuff.
There's a lot of YouTube
so go
stuff.
ahead and go check that out.
Yeah.
With that, Ash, thank you so much for doing this first episode of developer commentary with me.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been good, taking a look at your game. You're a beginner dev, and I feel like a lot of people who watch my channel are also beginner devs. So it's good to kind of get your guys' take on things.
It's one thing to hear from the big guys. Sometimes you want to hear from a peer as well. So if I can do 100%. It, you definitely can, because I'm some random idiot. So are you. Go do it.
With that, we will catch you next time. Thank you all for watching, and see you around.